A therapist once told her patient something that made her cry for an hour. She said, "Your kindness isn't about them. It never was." That woman was 43 years old. Successful, respected. The person everyone called when things fell apart. She was also the eldest daughter, and in that single sentence, 60 years of exhaustion suddenly made sense. Today I'm going to explain what that therapist meant. And if you're the eldest daughter or you love one, this might be the most important thing you hear this year. She was 8 years old when she learned to read the room, not books, rooms. She noticed when her mother's smile became thin, when her father's silence meant storm clouds were gathering. She learned to adjust. Her voice, her needs, her very presence, to keep the peace nobody asked her to keep. By 10, she was packing lunches for her younger siblings. By 12, she was mediating arguments between her parents. By 15, she had become so good at disappearing into the needs of others that she forgot she had any of her own. I've watched this pattern for 68 years, in my own family, in families around me, and the eldest daughter is always the one holding the invisible threads. She is the first to wake up and the last to rest, the first to notice and the last to be noticed, the first to give and the last to receive. And here's what haunts me most. If you ask her how she's doing, she'll say, "I'm fine," and she'll believe it, because she stopped tracking her own weather decades ago. There's a term therapists use, parentification. It means a child was handed a role they were never meant to carry. But here's what they don't tell you in the psychology textbooks. Parentification doesn't feel like burden when it's happening. It feels like love. It feels like being needed. It feels like purpose. A child cannot distinguish between "I am loved" and "I am useful." So when an eldest daughter receives praise for managing the household, for keeping her siblings quiet, for asking nothing for herself, she encodes a dangerous equation in her developing mind. My value equals my sacrifice. And that equation follows her everywhere, into her career, where she becomes the one who stays late, who covers for others, who never asks for the raise she deserves, into her friendships, where she becomes the listener, the advisor, the one everyone calls in crisis, but nobody thinks to check on, into her marriage, where she manages the schedules, the emotions, the endless invisible labor, while wondering why she feels so utterly alone. A therapist once told her patient something that shattered everything she believed about herself. She said, "Your people-pleasing isn't about them at all. It's about you. You please others so you can finally relax." It's not generosity, it's anxiety management, wearing the mask of kindness. That woman cried for an hour, not because it was cruel, because it was true. Let me show you how this manifests. 4 patterns I've observed. First, the perpetual scanner. She walks into any room and immediately calibrates. Who's upset? Who's being too quiet? Who needs attention? Who might start an argument? This isn't intuition, it's hypervigilance dressed up as emotional intelligence. She learned it because missing a cue in childhood meant chaos. Now she can't turn it off, even when she's safe, even when nobody needs saving. Second, the guilt architect. She doesn't just feel guilty when she fails. She feels guilty when she succeeds. Got a promotion? Feels guilty her sister didn't. Took a vacation? Feels guilty her mother was alone. Said no to a request? The guilt eats at her for days. She has constructed an internal prison where every act of self-care is a crime against everyone she loves. Third, the relationship mirror. Watch who she chooses as partners. Often it's someone who needs caretaking, someone younger emotionally, someone who lets her run everything, because that's familiar, that's home. And when someone tries to take care of her, she doesn't know how to receive it. It feels wrong, suspicious, like a debt she'll have to repay. She pushes them away, not because she doesn't want love, because she doesn't recognize it when it isn't work. Fourth, the resentment vault. Somewhere beneath that calm, capable surface, there is rage, not loud rage. Eldest daughters don't do loud, but a quiet, simmering resentment at the unfairness of it all. Why did I have to be the responsible one? Why did my brothers get to be children while I managed a household? Why does nobody see what I carry? And then, almost immediately, she feels guilty for feeling resentful, so she buries it deeper, and the vault grows heavier. Here's what 68 years has shown me about what this costs. It costs health. The eldest daughter often ignores her own symptoms, postpones her own appointments, puts everyone else's emergencies first, until her body forces her to stop. It costs relationships. She attracts people who take, and when someone offers genuine partnership, mutual, balanced, reciprocal, she doesn't trust it, so she ends up alone, or exhausted, or both. It costs identity. Ask her what she wants, not for her family, not for her career, not for others, but for herself. Watch how long it takes her to answer. She has spent so many decades being what others needed, she may have never discovered who she actually is. And perhaps most painful of all, it costs her childhood. That part of life where you're supposed to be carefree, protected, allowed to make mistakes without consequence. She never had it. She was too busy raising everyone else. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to heal. I don't believe in prescriptions for the human soul, but I will tell you what I've seen work. The eldest daughters who find peace are the ones who learn one devastating truth. Boundaries are not betrayal. Saying no to someone else is not cruelty. It's the first time you've ever said yes to yourself. They also learn to grieve, not dramatically, but honestly, to grieve the childhood they administered instead of lived, to grieve the mother or father who should have been the parent, to grieve the girl who learned too early that her worth was measured in what she gave away. And finally, they learn to receive, awkwardly at first, suspiciously, but eventually they let someone else hold something for them, and they discover that the world doesn't collapse, that they are allowed to rest, that they were always more than their usefulness. If you recognized yourself in any of this, you're not broken. You were just handed a job that was never meant for a child. And if you recognize someone you love, a daughter, a sister, a wife, a friend, maybe today is the day you ask her a question nobody has ever asked. What do you need? And then actually listen. She's been listening to everyone else for her entire life.